4,000,000 years ago, on the planet Earth, two brothers started watching Transformers media, and now they are going to make it your problem. Hi, I'm Hayden.
And I'm Frankie.
And welcome to BroBots in Disguise, where we are going through and discussing every episode of every major Transformers cartoon. It kind of fell apart at the end there.
A valiant effort, sir. A valiant effort.
I was trying to break it down phonetically as I went, and it was not working.
Welcome back to Season 2 of BroBots in Disguise, where we are discussing Season 2 of the original Transformers animated series, releasing in 1985, and largely following the episode order for Season 2 on TF Wiki with a few minor adjustments for continuity. In today's episodes, the robots got the hots for a girl in Sea Change. The Decepticons show their incompetence in Triple Takeover.
They're very good at it.
We remember the Boer War in Prime Target. And Hayden's favorite character duo returns in Autobop.
I was very happy.
There's lots of stuff to look at and plenty of funny quotes to find, so maybe we can do some Astrotrainspotting this episode.
Astrotrainspotting. I love it.
He is actually in 3 of these 4 episodes.
It's weirdly a through line through all of these.
If we shifted this, like, just slightly, we could have had a thing where Astrotrain was in all 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, recap, story, and characters.
Yeah.
At the time of this recording, these Transformers episodes are available on the Hasbro Pulse YouTube channel as well as on DVD, and several other streaming services such as Tubi and Pluto. Not sponsored.
Just go watch them. We want you to watch them so that you know what in the world we're talking about.
Exactly.
All right, on to our first episode.
Sea Change. On another planet, Sea Spray and a team of Autobots help the Tlalocan people. It's very hard to say. Tlalocan.
Tlalocan is how they
Tlalocan.
pronounce it in the episode.
Who can change their bodies using the Well of Transformation. They rebel against the Decepticon colonist computer Deceptitran and its drones. Meanwhile, Sea Spray and a Tlalocan girl named Alana fall in love. You heard that right, they fall in love. Megatron and some Decepticons show up but are driven off when the Tlalocans and Autobots blow up the Energon cubes. So this one is yet another episode in the long and lustrous tradition of a Decepticon raider in King Arthur's court, God Gambit, Child's Play, and The Gambler, in that it's largely involving a somewhat rotating cast of characters that usually involve Starscream, Astrotrain, the Coneheads in some capacity,
Bumblebee,
a rotating cast of Autobots, but usually has Bumblebee. Cosmos is always
and
there.
Some of the other Autobots.
Yeah. But a small selection of Autobots and Decepticons go on a very isolated, fantastical journey into a different realm of some kind. Right. Be it time travel, space travel, and it's mostly space travel, but...
Right.
Yeah. But more of it's in the same vein of those ones in that this is a very tropey and kind of goofy episode, but not in a bad way.
Well, once again, falling heavily into sort of pulp sci-fi territory.
Yeah.
It reminds me of early Star Trek episodes, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Where it follows like a pretty regular rebellion structure.
Yeah. And once again, I'm glad that the rebellion was kind of like already going before the interlopers arrived.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it with God Gambit, where it's like it's kind of frustrating, where it's the only reason that they rebel is because of like Autobot interference or something.
Well, no.
That.
I was saying that, like in a lot of pulp sci-fi, it's not until the main character shows up that the rebellion begins, or something like that. But it's nice to see in Transformers the rebellion already comes from, like in God Gambit and in this episode, the rebellion already comes from the native people.
Yeah.
Rather than the
it's already been going on in the background.
Right, and then the Autobots just show up to help.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But I have a quick question here before we get into the episode. Did they have, because it doesn't look like they have them anymore, but did they have oceans on Cybertron, or was Sea Spray sent to an ocean planet, or is the first time that he is a boat when he comes to Earth and become aquatic? But that doesn't explain his name. It may be why we have so few boat Transformers, is that they don't have boats on Cybertron, because they don't have oceans on Cybertron, which... That actually comes up in Transformers Cybertron.
Yeah.
Show Cybertron. When Scattershot says, we never had any oceans on Cybertron.
Right.
You know? But according to Generation 1, I mean, of course we see, Autobots and Decepticons go out to other planets all the time and stuff. So it's possible that Sea Spray went to another planet, became aquatic,
and then
got the moniker Sea Spray, started talking all bubbly and stuff, and then came to Earth. Unless he was, in the Ark, and then he just really got into oceans on the. He's that kid that's gonna be a ocean biologist.
Marine biologist.
Marine biologist, and will not stop talking about fish.
Yeah, it's curious because I think the only real sea that Cybertron kind of has and has been codified in recent years is the Sea of Rust, which is just a desert.
Right.
So,
exactly.
But it is curious how so this is a spotlight on Sea Spray. It's like his spotlight episode.
For sure, absolutely.
And personality wise, he's just a guy, I guess.
Yeah.
He just really likes the ocean, and he really likes being wet.
But that's what I'm saying, is that for a Transformer, that is a distinctive personality, liking the ocean, because
it's kind of analogous to Jazz, where it's he's always the one who he completely adopts human culture, right. Human vibes.
And we've seen in other episodes where Sea Spray's hey, keep the water clean and stuff like that. But I really like the scene at the beginning with him and Bumblebee.
I love that scene so much.
I like your note here.
Yeah, it's like Bumblebee and Sea Spray. He's taking Bumblebee water skiing. Water skiing. And Bumblebee's not enjoying it. That much.
I think he's putting up an effort. He's trying.
I think it's he's just spending time with a friend, like a job friend who's just I'll go jet skiing with you, and then actually getting there and being oh gosh, this guy really likes the water, and I am just not a fan. But it's the aesthetic of the sunset when they're doing it. It's that citrus orange sunset, and then it fades into kind of this vaporwave sort of look.
Yeah.
And then they sit on the rock and they look up at the stars, and he's like, "Make a wish, Bumblebee."
Yeah. What I was gonna say is, it's interesting that there's no human sort of being hey, check out that we do water skiing, and because in season 1 and early season 2, it would have been a human showing Bumblebee how to water ski or something. But here it's which also they should already know how to water ski, because they had those. They have those in their car mode.
The ultimate doom.
And then also the surfboards and all that. But no, it's just kind of going to show that Sea Spray has really adopted a lot of human culture. That he's the one showing it, and he's the one making reference to. Making a wish on the first star, and then Bumblebee's come on, you can't wish on all of them. He really we're gonna be here all night. But I like that it's so nicely mirrored at the end of the episode with the star, and Bumblebee's hey, make a wish, I actually kind of a callback, we kind of get a hint as to what Sea Spray's wish, because he was actually said, oh, I can't tell you, it won't come true,
and then it comes true at the end.
We assume that that's what he wished for.
He
really was wishing for a girlfriend if he was going to wish on every single star.
But I like this a lot whenever it shows up, is certain Transformers adopting certain aspects of human culture, but adopting it to a weird degree that's it's kind of off-putting to their fellow Autobots or Decepticons, where it's just I just really freaking love the ocean, man. And it's pretty fun to see. But yeah, and then we transition to I don't know if the planet is given a name at any point.
On TF Wiki, it's called Talak. Or
Talak, okay.
Talalak. Or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Which makes sense because they call them the Talalakians or Talalala.
Tlalakans, or
just cue up the music from Nausicaa. The la 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 la.
But yeah, it's I had to kind of look this up. It's kind of riffing off of the actual Aztec mythological concept of heaven called Tlalocan, which is a specific realm of heaven for those who had water-related deaths, like drowned at sea or drowned or were, killed in some watery capacity.
Yeah.
So it's actually a pretty cool reference, especially since like the whole aesthetic of this colony,
right, and
the people there is Aztec.
Right. And then their heaven is like the well of transformation and going to the underwater city where they become, Little mermaids.
Right.
He seriously looks like their leader looks like what's his name, Triton from
King
Mermaids?
Triton.
Yeah.
But like this is also been used in like Marvel and stuff with like Tlalocan is Atlantis and connected to Namor in different capacities and stuff like that. Okay. So right. Pretty unique use of this, especially since it's a Aztec shape-shifting society under Decepticon colonial rule.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that, in this allegory that we're going for here, I guess the Decepticons would be the conquistadors or something, right? But it kind of harkens back to, I thought that the Titans in God Gambit were somewhat Aztec-inspired. Obviously, the Tlalocans to a much greater degree.
Yeah.
But I think that this is also a very interesting look at what may have happened to Titan if the Autobots didn't intervene when they did. Like, this is probably what's going on. And
like Astrotrain would have had this sort of operation set up if he had his way with the colony.
Perhaps. But here, it seems that who knows how long this has been going on. It's very interesting seeing this Decepticon colonialized slave world run by Deceptitran. He's like
it's a pun on Teletran.
Yeah. He's a Decepticon version of Teletran, but with a body and like a really weird personality.
He's like
very flippant.
He's like your generic like colonial ruler. That's like the big pompous dude who's these savages sort of thing.
Right. And then he gets really freaked out by everything.
It was awful!
Yeah. And then he's got a whole bunch of drones, but I guess these aren't true, like, Cybertronian life forms.
Yeah.
They're just computers with bodies, because... like, they're not real Decepticons.
Yeah, I don't think Deceptitran is a real Decepticon either. Like, there's no indication of him having an alternate form.
Right.
Even though he's got, like, a huge personality, they also, like, switch him off at certain points.
Right.
And...
but that's, they've switched off Ironhide and Starscream's vocal components in the past,
But, yeah, I don't know. I get the feeling that he's more of just, like... he's a droid in the sense of, like, a Star Wars droid.
Right.
Where it's, like, for all intents and purposes, they're basically a person.
Right.
But he's not treated like one.
Going back to, like, if the laser core mentioned in Season 1 is analogous to the spark that, really takes over the Transformers franchise in Beast Wars... then these would be, they wouldn't have a laser core. They would just be computerized.
Right. It reminds me of the mining operation for the Cybertonium that Shockwave has.
Right.
Where it's like there's the drone commander and then there's all these other drones.
Yeah, the Buzz Lightyear guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely what I'm thinking but it's very interesting to wonder, was this set up before the Decepticons crashed on Earth, or is this a recent thing?
Yeah, so...
I mean, if it was before, those poor people have been enslaved for 4 million years!
Man, they still haven't overthrown it. They're kind of slacking on that end.
Yeah. So I would be more. I would think that this probably has been set up. Well, okay. So it's mentioned later on that the distress code that Deceptitran uses is from the third Cybertron War.
Yeah.
And I can't remember offhand, but isn't this the third Cybertron War? Or is that...
I think the second one is the one in which Megatron and Orion Pax... Orion Pax becomes Optimus and starts fighting Megatron. I think in that one they say it's the second Cybertronian War, but I could be wrong.
Well, hang on just a second. Let me consult TF Wiki. But you go ahead and talk about the rest of your note there.
Yeah, so...
Deceptitran.
Deceptitran, well, one, he's really funny. He's got, like, the colonial, big tubby guy, sort of thing. It's a similar naming convention to Teletran, so that leads me to believe that he's more computer than he is sentient. But yeah, it's... I do like that this is it's kind of reinforcing the Decepticons' galactic presence that we saw in The Gambler, where Megatron was going out to collect energon that was owed to him, and people are terrified of these like warlords' presence. And this just kind of adds to that, where we have these colonies just spread out where it's Decepticon rule has been put into place. And Megatron and the Decepticons, they come out to check on them every once in a while. And it's not really something that we've seen, but this helps, further that idea that this is actually something that's like set in stone. But, yeah, I did find it really interesting that they're drawing energy from the Tlalicans, which I guess makes sense, because they do have the capacity to shapeshift under certain conditions, so they might have like a lot of potential energy stored up in them. But they have they get strapped into this thing and then have all this energy drawn out of them, and it makes a singular energon cube, which is like, wow, that's not a whole lot. I mean, I guess it's like, a soul for a soul sort of thing. But this kind of implies that they're actually like really, really chocked full of energy compared to humans, because when Starscream tries to get energon from Arkaville's brain, he can't even fill one. Yeah. In fact, it doesn't even power up a single box. It doesn't even it doesn't even power up the thing that's going to generate the energon cube.
Right. And it's really kind of terrifying when you think about it, that he like calls it nourishment, and
he's like
drains
feeding
it from
off of them. It's thematic, but it's also kind of terrifying when you think of it literally.
And there's a good line, I put it in the quotes, so we'll get to that later. But but yeah, not only is he draining energy from the people, he's also draining their energy and resources to build his Aztec city, which makes me wonder if he constructed the Aztec motif.
Well, I think
that's not actually their own culture.
I think he just took over like their capital city or something like that, and then they've had to resort to hiding underwater and stuff. Okay. But it's also weirdly coincidental that it's similar to the thing that Bosch uses to draw out energy from the Transformers, except it's just like scaled down to a human size.
Yes.
But yeah, it's interesting when you look at the scaling of what's needed to make energon cubes, like the equivalent energy for an energon cube.
Right.
And that more often than not, they'll make like a small pile that's maybe like 20 cubes big.
Yeah.
And it requires like a whole dam and electricity plant, like these giant generative apparatuses to make.
Right.
So comparing that to a Tlalocan having their energy drained can make one.
They got
a lot of energy.
Metabolism. Yeah. Okay, so third Cybertron War. I went to TF Wiki and did some research, because I forgot to check with Five Faces of Darkness again.
Yeah. You always gotta check with that one.
So in Five Faces of Darkness, they mentioned there being several wars. They show multiple wars. In Desertion of the Dinobots, the narrator says that there has been many, many wars going on, right? However, on TF Wiki, it brings attention specifically to this, that Deceptitrans call encryption was one used from the Third Cybertron War. However, it may not be the same one that's mentioned in the Five Faces of Darkness, as Optimus Prime tells Rodimus Prime that the Third Cybertron War is the one that is currently still going.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
weird that Perceptor is like, it's originating from the Third Cybertron War. It's like, oh, you mean this one?
Right. Now, it could be that it is an older code from earlier in the war.
True. It is a millions-year-long war at this point.
Right.
So.
And that he's just using an older code for the encryption. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's been there for that long. But I still wonder, like, was he sent there? Like, did the Decepticons invade this planet and then put him there and then leave? Or did the Decepticons just send Deceptitran there?
Yeah.
And then also, like, how long ago, was it something Shockwave sent in the interim time? 4 million years? Like, maybe it was only 1 million years ago or something like that. But still, like, or is it something that's happened since the Decepticons reawoke on Earth?
Yeah.
Another way to look at it would be that some people classify the Third Cybertronian War as ending when the leaders of the Autobots and Decepticons abandoned their planet for 4 million years. And other people, like Optimus Prime, say that, no, it's still going on.
Yeah. It'd be like people from the Crusades suddenly going into stasis, like whole armies of Crusaders.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Going to sleep and then waking up in the modern day, and they're like continuing the Crusades.
Well, this is still the Third Crusade.
Yeah, and they're like, oh my gosh, you guys are still fighting over this.
The world has changed.
Yeah. But it is cool to think about the fact that Cybertronians operate on such a different time scale than everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, to them, it's only been like 50 years, but to the rest of the universe, it's been millions of years.
And like we talked about last episode, unreliable narrators are a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to hand wave a lot of continuity errors by saying that we have a lot of unreliable narrators in Transformers. However, I also like to wrap my brain around problems and try to make them work.
Yeah.
That's part of why we're doing the podcast, right?
Precisely.
Anyway.
Again, you could read into the whole Tlalocon versus Decepticon colony thing. It's like, maybe the Tlalocons aren't as good as we think, but there's not enough there to really read into that and stuff. Like, there has to be a basis to it.
They're the good guys. Decepticons are always the bad guys.
Yeah. Speaking of Tlalocons...
Yes, let's talk about the Well of Transformation.
Yes.
And why are the Tlalocons way too excited to jump into it? Whee! They're always like, yay!
Well, I think they kind of imply there's, like, religious or spiritual significance to this.
Absolutely.
Like, it's very sacred to them.
Right. And then also, like, just... it means they're getting away from the Decepticons.
Yeah, and it's a transmutating cauldron of energy that seems to just... I think the way that Alana puts it is that it rearranges your molecules,
yes,
but you have control over what it is by thinking about the form that you want.
Right. So you could turn yourself into anything. And also, let me just give a quick shout out to the cosmic horror of tricking Rumble into being a tree.
It's funny, but also very terrifying.
I know, right. It's hilarious and like, oh my gosh, at the same time. Because you don't know, and you're watching that for the first time, you don't know if he's going to make it. I mean, if you've seen the movie like we have, you know that somehow he's going to make it out, right?
But it's just like, oh my gosh, what if he just got stuck there?
Right. And they just happens to fall back in and turn back into Rumble.
Yeah.
But
and Alana like just feeding him the information of like,
Right.
you need to think of a tree
Right.
with deep roots.
And I wonder if she had a similar conversation with Sea Spray when he
Most likely, like in between.
like in between, because this episode has some very quick pacing and some odd jump cuts.
Yeah, it's all over the
occasionally.
place.
Yeah.
Well, the Well of Transformation brings up a good question of sentience in Transformers,
Yeah.
and that it's the reason why she's concerned is because she's seen only robots go into there.
Right.
She didn't have a distinction for Cybertronians compared to drones.
Yeah.
So she just assumed anything metal that goes in here is going to get destroyed.
Right. But then she better take off her necklaces.
Yeah. But it's kind of cool because it actually, like, that sort of dissonance between her perspective and Sea Spray's perspective is bridged by the Well of Transformation, where it's like, this kind of confirms that, like, oh, Sea Spray is, you know, Cybertronians are sentient, but also Sea Spray is more human. He thinks himself more human than other people do.
Yeah, as we were discussing his love of the ocean.
And like, I think it's pretty cool to kind of express that, where he's for lack of a better terms, this is love is more than meets the eye. But it's kind of, and yes, it is a love story. It's weird. It's a robot to organic love story.
Yeah, yeah.
Is this the first time that this has been a main focus of an episode? Other than just like offhanded references of like, you know, random female characters being like, you know, oh wow, a transformer, oh, like that.
Yeah, like Carly saying, "Can you introduce me to that cute Autobot?"
Yeah, that's just like casual stuff.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, robots apparently can blush and lust. Like, okay, it's more believable to. It's easier to believe that they are capable of love than lust, because like lust seems more like
physical desire, intertwined with the organic means of reproduction, which have absolutely nothing to do with the transformer means of reproduction. Right.
We've seen,
is just,
you could just build them with a box of scraps in a cave, you know,
or spring out of holes in the ground.
Right, literally. And a lot of times, like, you know, you talk about, like, you know, love at first sight or whatever, and it's like I've heard it described. I have a trouble with the concept of love at first sight, like a connection at first meeting. I can believe that.
Yeah. True love at first sight.
True love at first sight.
Not a thing.
Sounds more to me, when you break it down, more like lust at first sight, and then it turned out that you were actually very compatible, and it became love. Because love should be something that grows over time. That you, the more time you spend and care for somebody, the more you love them. Right?
Yeah. Love is a verb.
Okay.
But I do like that you pointed out that it's...
So it's very believable to me that a robot with a soul is capable of love.
Yeah. A robot with a soul can love a human with a soul.
The four... Is it 3 or 4 types of, you know, the Greek love, the agape love,
Eros, agape, and then something else.
But it's like family love, brotherly love, which is like love for your neighbors. Platonic love, thank you. Platonic love, family love, God love, and love.
Romantic love.
Well, I also struggle with the connection of romance to lust.
But just as a general term, for the generalization of this thing.
I have lots of thoughts on the subject, and this is neither the time nor the place to discuss it.
But in relation to Sea Spray and Alana, it's weird because it's simultaneously like it's a goofy love story. Like it's a star-crossed lovers. It's kind of weirdly and surprisingly wholesome despite being pretty corny.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of surprised by it with it's like, oh, it's a love story, it's whatever. And then I was like, wait, no, there's a little bit more depth to it than this, as far as just like the context of Sea Spray is less concerned with like being with Alana and more with being accepted by Alana for who he is as a person.
Well, I think that goes both ways.
Yeah.
Well, Alana's just straight up says, I thought that, someone like me, you wouldn't like someone like me or something like that.
But I do like the kind of like flip-flop between the two where, I think a lesser love story would just do the like, oh, I've got to change to be with this girl, and then does the physical change. And then it's like, what, I just loved you the way you were. And it's like, oh, okay, sort of thing. But the fact that Alana also changes into a Cybertronian.
Yeah.
And Sea Spray isn't like, he's not like, ecstatic to see her. He's like, oh, she's a Cybertronian now. We can be together. He's just sort of like, I kind of liked you the way you were.
Yeah.
But
no, it is definitely an interesting analogy for two people in a relationship. You do have to change for each other, but you also have to accept each other for who they are.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what they do in this episode.
Right.
Like, they both accept who they are, but they also are, willing to make changes for each other.
Exactly. And it's like...
it also helps that they're in the middle of a war.
Well, but...
and they need the firepower.
But I do like that it gives Alana the chance to kind of, like, meet him... Like, Sea Spray meets her on her level. In the underwater and like protecting the city.
Right.
And then she meets him on his level of being a transformer and going on the offensive to liberate people and protect people. Right. They experience each other's worlds. Yeah. Alternatively and at the same time.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, they meet in the middle. And she's never showing up again. Like,
it would be hilarious if Sea Spray never showed up again after this episode because he just stayed on this planet.
I would like that, but at the same time, I think there's something really interesting that they don't. Like, Sea Spray just stays with the Autobots and she stays with the Tlalokans.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's kind of like Perceptor and Bumblebee kind of marveling at this weird little union, and that Sea Spray is deeper than they gave him credit for.
Yeah.
He's more self-actualized than they gave him credit for. Even though it's like, yeah, he may be a weird boat guy, but he's our weird boat guy.
Yeah.
And I can respect him for being who he is, no matter what. And he's a weirdly self-actualized and really established, grounded character.
Yeah.
Where it's like he's kind of a neutral, like he experiences characterization.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really have like a full-blown like arc. He's already self-actualized at the beginning.
Yeah.
And he's still self-actualized at the end.
Yeah.
But it's just sort of like a little window into Sea Spray's life.
Yeah.
And you see that with like the ending where they just watch him go off into the sunset and they're like, yeah. So
I mean, I'd like to imagine that he goes back to visit her every so often.
Probably.
He's away on, he's doing his tour of duty, and he's just away.
And she's probably helping to rebuild the Tlalocan society. So
I mean, they flew there in the course of a single conversation, so it can't be that far away.
Yeah.
Or Cosmos is just extremely fast.
Yeah.
Which, is it a moon or is it a planet? I think it's a planet.
No clue.
But it could be a moon.
Yeah. But all in all, this one took me by surprise. I didn't give it enough credit when I watched it. But at the same time, it's also very, very goofy in execution. It's a deeply unserious episode, but I like it. Also, He-Man Sea Spray.
Thank you. I was gonna say Aquaman Sea Spray.
Yeah.
with the mechanical bubbly voice.
I audibly cackled when I rewatched that for the first time, because I totally forgot what he looked like when he turned into a human. I just remember that he did.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's just Conan the Barbarian He-Man Sea Spray with the gargly vocoder voice still.
And metal boots.
Which
also, that joke lands differently now than when we were a kid. Anyway. Alright. Anything else you want to say?
I like this one.
Yeah.
It made me smile.
I appreciate this more than I did as a kid.
Yeah.
So, with that, we'll take a short break and be right back. And we're back from break with Triple Takeover. Starscream, Astrotrain, and Blitzwing lure Megatron into a trap, but Starscream gets double-crossed too. Blitzwing blitzes the city from a football stadium and has the Constructicons construct a massive highway maze he uses to smash Autobots. Meanwhile, Astrotrain's new army of trains cause a huge flood in the city that frees Megatron and Starscream. Everybody fights in the football field and Megatron takes command back. Also,
this episode's
also
so
the
good.
Autobots are there.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite episodes.
It's so good. It still holds up to this day.
So funny. It's just something about bad guys making plans and then everything just goes wrong of its own accord. It's just very funny to me. Like the first part of Desertion of the Dinobots, where it's just Megatron's very bad day.
Yeah.
Or the space bridge incident at the beginning of Child's Play. It's just very funny.
Well, this one is like, it's the Of Mice and Men thing, where it's just like watching a cascading, like, Rube Goldberg machine of just failure after failure pile on top of each other and then just collide at the very end. All of the Autobots are just sort of like, let him have this.
Right. But we start out with Decepticon Mount Rushmore.
Decepticon Mount Rushmore.
You know you're in for a funny episode if it starts with Decepticon. They construct an entire head for Megatron just to blast it away.
It's the active disrespect, the intentional disrespect is so good.
Yeah.
But we have in this episode, where it seems they've already come to this conclusion that they're going to do this.
Right.
We have the triumvirate of Starscream, Astrotrain, and Blitzwing as the traitorous alliance.
Right, yeah.
And it's weird because, I mean, from a general perspective, it makes sense because Astrotrain and Blitzwing are new toys, and Starscream is a mainstay.
Right. It's also called Triple Takeover, so you gotta put the triple changers in.
There's a triple theme there, is that there's 3 of them.
Right.
2 of them turn into, they're triple changers and stuff.
But they immediately double cross Starscream. It's so funny.
But I love the fact that, like, it's right from the get-go. Like, the beginning of their plan, they're like, boy, that Starscream's an idiot.
Yeah. This is, like, the first big, like, heavily focus on just Decepticons episode. We don't really get a lot of that in G1 until... Well, I mean, we get a little bit of that... Okay, sorry. We don't get a lot of that in Season 2. We get a lot more of that in Season 3.
Yes.
Arguably, Decepticon Raider and King Arthur's Court is mostly about Starscream, but anyway... Yeah, this one's another one in Starscream's Bizarre Adventures.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like they're like, Megatron hasn't led us to victory.
Yeah.
So they're just mad.
Yeah. They're finally fed up with Megatron. Starscream's pretty obvious. Yeah, he's been trying to take over for years. Astrotrain's been devious in other episodes, and then Blitzwing is there.
Yeah.
and he's just so, what gets me though is that instead of going back to the Decepticon base and taking command of the actual Decepticons, they just go off and do their own thing.
Yeah.
Like, Astrotrain's like, forget Decepticons, I'm going to build an army of trains.
Yeah.
And then Blitzwing mistakes just the absolute absurdity of Blitzwing thinking a football stadium as a battle simulation arena and using the coach as a military advisor and giving him points for doing dumb stuff. Genius. Absolute genius.
Absolute cinema.
But it leads me to believe that Astrotrain and Blitzwing just really wanted to just do their own thing.
Yeah.
Follow their own passions, and Megatron wouldn't let them.
Yeah.
So they're not trying to take over, the Decepticons. They just want to do their own thing.
Right.
They want a weekend.
I have, like, weirdly enough, even though it's, like, really goofy, I think there's a lot of, like, character insight we can get into.
Oh, yeah, sure.
At the very least, Blitzwing and Astrotrain.
Yeah.
Starscream is already established in this one.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of a character arc with him, though. I'll get to that later.
Okay.
But let's start with the Blitzwing.
Go for it.
Is that, well, first of all, the whole the whole football sequence is incredible because he just rolls up and decides to take over, and the football players are just kind of candid of like, what do we do? There's a tank on the field.
Right.
And none of them are like panicking. They're just sort of like, well, what do we do about this?
Yeah. And then the coach, just like in Child's Play, the coach is always like taking charge and please just let us play ball.
Is this just a common theme with sports players in this Transformers universe? Is that they're just aggressively belligerent towards opposition, towards them playing the game?
Yes.
And then when things don't go their way and they're forced to kowtow to literal 30-foot tall giant robot tyrants, they're just sort of like, bro, I don't know, I just play ball,
bomb.
man. The long bomb!
Zone defense. He just gives her these random words, and Blitzwing's just like, oh yes, I know exactly what that means. Let's build a highway maze.
So,
go on.
For Blitzwing's characterization, I think he's a proto-Megatron.
Yeah.
Like, we don't really have... He's kind of the wild card pick of this treacherous alliance. Yeah. With Astrotrain, we've already had, like, instances of him showing, like, ambition outside of his designated role. Blitzwing, we haven't really gotten a lot of, other than he has a rivalry with Warpath because they're both tanks.
Yeah.
But this is the first time that we get a good bit of his personality and just him entering the football field. Like, his goal is like, all right, I need to make a base.
Yeah.
This football stadium. And he describes it as a battle simulation arena.
Yeah.
And...
I mean, that's what football is.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's our modern day equivalent to the gladiatorial pits of Rome.
Yeah. But a lot of what we see, it's especially with his interactions with the coach, where he's kind of aping Megatron in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's like
he's definitely got the military mindset.
Yeah, he's very focused on
he's a tank.
Yeah, he's a tank.
And
he's a blunt instrument.
Jet. Yeah.
But his level of ambition is mostly just like war as a game.
Yeah.
Where he's more interested in like high scores and getting points and not really like he's conquering without a goal.
Yeah.
Like there's absolutely zero vision with him. He has like no vision whatsoever. He has all of the means to do everything that he wants. Like he's literally laying waste to a city. He's built a giant maze. He actually takes out quite a few Autobots. But he's doing it completely randomly.
Yeah, he's just doing it for a high score.
Yeah.
I love that he's keeping score.
Right.
And just making up how much it's like 10
points for Autobots and stuff like that. But he's like a weird aspect of Megatron where it's Megatron without any intelligence. Is that he's just despotic.
Yeah.
He's conquering and destroying just for conquering and destroying's sake.
Yeah.
But he knows Megatron. He knows the reason why Megatron has succeeded in the past is because he has these like goals. He has these plans and everything. But he doesn't. Blitzwing doesn't. And he kind of needs ambition spoon-fed to him, which is why he goes to the coach.
Yeah.
And he's like, "All right, tell me about strategy."
Right.
And stuff. He's kind of like this warlord who brings in these like counselors and advisors that are all terrified of him.
Yeah.
Where he's like, "Tell me about the stars and how they work." Well, they actually work by orbiting around the sun and then stuff. And he's like, "I don't believe that." And he's like, "Well, of course not, sir. It's..." But like, I love the fact that he's a warrior he's a warrior trying to be a warlord without with all of the physical capabilities of being a warlord, but none of the mental capabilities of being a warlord. Right. And like, it's not a whole lot that you can read off of. Like, it's still like really funny and kind of
it's mostly
level.
Played for jokes. But it's cool that we can still get this character analysis out.
This is like the only insight into Blitzwing's character that we get
so far. It's going to be interesting to see how this stacks up against his only other offhand, the only other significant role I can think that he plays is in the 5th part of Five Faces of Darkness, where he attempts to switch sides in order to save all of Cybertronians from the Quintesson's freeze off switch or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched it, so,
I genuinely don't remember that, so it'll be interesting to see.
So, if I recall, he's in Five Faces of Darkness, and he's going to make a report to the Quintessons, and he hears their plan. And he's like, oh no, I gotta go tell Galvatron. And he's like, Galvatron, I have bad news. And Galvatron's like, did you give the report? No. Crazy. He knocks him off a bridge, and then Blitzwing's like, well, I guess I'll tell the Autobots, as he crashes in front of him. That's right, I do remember that. And then it's like, Autobots, I need your help to save all of us from the Quintessons. And
that's right, he does. Yeah. He has a greater good moment.
And if I remember, there was actually going to be, I think I read somewhere that there was a plot line with the reason we see so many Blitzwings in the theme song for season 3 is because he was one of the original armies that the Quintessons had made.
Interesting.
He was like the main one that was out and about, but there was like a whole bunch of other Blitzwings. There's actually even a toy that is based off of those guys now, because they were supposed to be like dark green and blue, and they accidentally got colored Blitzwing colors.
It would be,
and then dropped from the show. So
it would be really interesting to see a character thread be picked up with that, and that he's like the Jango Fett of the Quintesson clone army, or something. That would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how they got the Earth modes. 8 billion years ago or whatever it was.
But
anyway,
like he has all of this like execution. He is prime in execution. Like he gets the Constructicons.
He actually works with the Constructicons.
Yeah, which is interesting that they just decide to work for Blitzwing because he promised them a share of Decepticon leadership, but
which also foreshadows them wanting leadership in the movie.
In the movie, also. Yeah, true.
Yeah,
but like it kind of feels just like contract work, where it's like, he's paying, so we'll take on the job.
Right. Well, I don't think it's just that. I think they did want to lead because they get so upset about it afterwards. But the highway maze, the highway maze is actually kind of scary from an automotive
weirdly
perspective.
Brutal.
Very brutal scene also of Blitzwing just flying in and crushing Autobots and stuff.
Literally running them over and flattening them in vehicle mode.
Right. And the way that they take the corpses and just stack them up into a throne.
It's the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones, but made out of Autobot bodies.
Yeah. But it's also funny the Constructicons just get lost in the maze.
Yeah. We can't get out.
I love that line.
Again, this one is so much of just squabbling shenanigans.
Yeah. Well, it just shows that Megatron really does keep his troops in order.
Yes.
Without him, they just infighting all the time. It's just, they have no sense of camaraderie the way the Autobots do.
Yeah.
Because they are morally depraved, and they don't have that respect for each other.
Yeah.
They're all selfish.
Right.
They only want to be, they only want...
they're completely self-serving without any sort of, like, vision or sight of the greater good.
They only want to please themselves at the expense of everybody else.
Yeah.
Whereas the Autobots want to take care of each other most of the time.
Sometimes. Other times they don't want to hide. They want to fight in the clear.
But anyway, speaking of taking care of each other, Astrotrain makes an army of drone trains, and it just goes miserable.
He has the worst time possible.
He seems to care for his troops, but he gets belittled by. I feel bad for him because he tries so hard.
Yeah.
And I've been
like, you can do it. You can do it.
Just trying to get, people organized, and even, his trains can't quite do it, and they get belittled by the other Decepticons.
I think with him, this actually another situation that gives us more insight into his character. So prior to this, we already had sights of him, like, you know, megalomanian, like, I'm the most powerful in this small little zone.
Yeah.
Like, they were always far away from the action whenever he got the chance to, like, be ambitious and kind of enforce his own will. Every time that he did that, he failed, but it was mostly due to circumstances. Like, he's always getting drained everywhere that he goes. It's like, you know, I'm low on fuel. I've been going for so long. It's like, he's the only spacefaring Decepticon.
Yeah.
So he kind of gets used a lot for that.
Right.
And used and abused. Right. And all the time, it's like, he's forced to serve the whims of little guys.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the smaller Transformers.
Yeah.
And he's forced to be in these survival situations, but he has this ambition. I think he's the inverse of Blitzwing. Blitzwing is all brute force execution and capability without any ambition. Astrotrain is all ambition without any execution. Because when he comes up, like, you know, having to be limited by your coworkers, essentially. And it's like, well, they just don't see it the way I do. So I'm just going to make a bunch of
I'm going to do it myself.
I'm going to do it myself, but I'm going to make all of these things are trains. Nobody else is a train in the Transformers world. So, you know, the whole world will be me. And he talks about, like, this is my Astro Force. This is going to be the start of my empire and everything like that. But it's really a kid playing with toys. In that he's like, this is my whole little world. These are my little guys, and I have control over them.
He's really trying to recreate God Gambit.
Is that Astrotrain ultimately wants a complete control of a small little domain. He just wants to be the overlord of his own little kingdom. And be able to perfectly control everything. Everything needs to go right. Which is why I think he's so invested in the train getting out of the debris pile. Is because he's like, please, you have to work. Please, this is all I have. But it's like, if you don't work, then my whole little, like, delusional, self-aggrandizing empire falls apart. And, you know, it's he wants to micromanage and order around and boss around people as he desires without needing to convince them that he is actually superior, instead of like, you don't understand, I've got this grand scheme, this Astro Force and this empire. That's nice. Now transport us to the nearest Decepticon colony. Put the fries in the bag, Astrotrain. But I think that's why he cares about them, because they're, you know, their success determines his success. And if he can't get his little playthings to do what he wants, then he can't get anything to do what he wants. So, yeah, I think that his is like, he's a control freak. And he's a control freak who has the inability to control anything.
He really is growing as one of my favorite characters. This watch around,
especially with just how desperate he is for the train to do what he wants. Where he's like, "Yes, go, little guy! No, slow down! Oh no!"
I always felt so bad for him.
It helps that his voice is so incredibly distinct.
Where
he's like, ah. He's just got this, like, grating, like, voice.
The extra vocoder to make it sound like he's in outer space. So, speaking about characters that we learn more about, we have yet another, I think, the one only other rare Skids appearance.
Yes!
And he even has one line.
A singular line.
Apparently, we now know two things about him.
He'll stop him at the 10-yard line.
He knows American football, as well as Doubt's robotic insecticide. Now we know two things about him.
He has a very, like, rich and deep background.
And then he dies. No.
And then he dies.
I mean, they all get better at the end, but man, it's kind of terrifying, seeing them get all smashed up.
I think, just in general, he doesn't get that big of a spotlight.
Yeah.
I know he gets a pretty big play in, like, IDW.
Well, even in the Marvel comics, he gets an entire comic issue to himself.
He gets a single, like,
practically
spotlight
stardom in the Marvel comics.
Pretty much. But, yeah, beyond that, Skids is an often neglected character.
Yeah. But, yeah, especially in the G1 cartoon.
Yeah. And then he gets turned into a chair.
Yeah. And also, speaking of other things that are missing, it feels like there is a scene or two missing from this episode. Halfway through the episode, Spike says, Megatron and Starscream are back! But we never saw the Autobots notice them being missing.
Yeah.
And then Ironhide says, we should have finished them off when we had the chance. So I guess that means that they discovered them in the sewer and Prime just left them frozen there? Maybe it was an Autobot base after all. Oh, and also another quick note I wanted to point out. Absolute 0-degree molecules are apparently a thing that exists.
Yes.
And also Astrotrain says it's 470 degrees below zero.
It's not absolute zero.
So perhaps he is counting Fahrenheit because 459 degrees below zero is absolute zero in the Kelvin scale.
Okay.
But he's a little bit off with that 470.
Yeah, dude. Well, it is also Astrotrain, so he's probably not right.
It could be that it is 470 degrees below zero, which would make it less than absolute 0-degree molecules.
Right.
But anyway,
I do.
Or that the molecules themselves are at 0 degrees Kelvin, but it has created an environment in the room that is less than 0 degrees Kelvin, which is impossible.
Yeah. I'm willing to just believe that it is cold cloud.
Also, what else is impossible? The water getting up to the rooftops of the skyscrapers, unless that whole city is in a bowl that is the size of the skyscrapers.
It's like the end of the Batman where they flood the city.
Right, but that's only like the bottom part of the city. This is up to like the 25th floor.
It's in a crater of some kind.
I guess. That's just a lot of water, man, from that water line. And then Trailbreaker just pushes it away with his force field.
Woo!
I mean, hey, that's what force... That's basically, it's a repulsor field. You know, that's it can repulse.
It works.
Another note, final score for Blitzwing, 1,569 before the Constructicons ruin his sign. What was he doing?
The
last time we saw it was like in the hundreds.
He was doing the long bomb as well.
A lot, I guess.
Yeah, can you imagine just a tank sending mortar shells into a city?
Oh, it'd be terrifying.
At one point, he shoots a bomb, and the explosion is bigger than one of the skyscrapers.
Oh my gosh.
This dude is throwing nukes at the city. I think that 1569 is justified.
Yeah. Also, I like that he's snapping his fingers like he's listening to some music or something.
He would.
One more. There's a weird light effect that Optimus uses to, like, flashbang the Megatron and Starscream when he transforms.
Yeah.
And I think the only other time we see that effect is in the Rebirth when he's, like, inside the Matrix or getting visions from Alpha Trion.
Oh, yeah. They will sometimes do that, like, kind of spectral light effect.
It's a strange, like, practical effect that isn't the,
it's not
typical
drawn.
animation. Yeah. I'm sorry, when he's inside Vector Sigma or when he's getting visions from Alpha Trion. So it makes me wonder if that's some sort of Matrix power that he just used.
Yeah.
Like a little brief, just... Matrix, he flashed them with the Matrix.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway. But yeah, on to the final battle. Everybody's just blaming each other. All the Decepticons just, you said this, you did that, rah, 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 and they just tear each other apart.
It's delicious. And also the fact that, like, Devastator's involved and they're like, we gotta unite against him. And then they're like, well, I'm not teaming up with you, and it's like, it's literally like backstab. There's no plans at this point.
Yeah.
It's just turns around, and the second that the back is turned, just shoots him in the back.
I shoot you, you shoot me.
Yeah.
That's what makes
everyone's just getting thrown around. And then Megatron going in to like settle the score.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that like none of this treachery is deliberately against Megatron. Like the first one is.
Yeah.
But afterwards it's just kind of them all like against each other. At all points. And it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Every single thing
so
about this. But I think the biggest character development that we get is Starscream. Because it's the traitor getting betrayed.
Yeah.
But, which also, that's one of my favorite scenes is him like, you know, now that Megatron's frozen, I'm going to get out of this tunnel. And then like the brief panic on his face when it's not opening. He's just like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
But, him.
Great work doing that without words too.
Oh yeah, where he's like, oh. But him with the, you know, the I'm stupid line. And then also him saying, I may be a coward, but I'm fast.
Right. This is finally the episode that really establishes him as a coward.
Starscream has learned to accept himself.
There's so many...
Like Sea Spray, he has learned to accept himself for who he is.
Yep, exactly.
Self-actualized Starscream.
Also, apparently, Ironhide is very bloodthirsty because he's just going to start shooting into the frame.
I mean, I would too. It's smart.
Yeah, I guess.
It's weird that Prime also stops him. He's just like, nah, this is their fight.
Yeah. We get a new combiner. Prowl tracks and skids and Blue Streak when they're repaired.
Is this a new alternate form? Can they just do this at will? Where's the consciousness goes? Is this a Devastator situation? Are they all just the same person and just like in a new form? What is this?
I like that Optimus rejects the throne, though.
Thrones are for Decepticons. That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah. Anything else?
It's so fun.
I
want to watch this one again. I'm gonna go back and rewatch this one.
Yeah. I love this episode. Still on my top 10 list of G1 episodes.
Absolutely. Anyway,
and with that, we'll take a short break and be right back. Hey, we're actually going to take our break to discuss something else for a bit. It's not really a sponsor, we just wanted to tell you about it.
So we always talk about one of the things that brings people back to Transformers is all of the characters that we love.
And if you like telling stories that make who a character is central to the story,
then we want to tell you about a little project that one of our friends has been working on and is about to go up on Kickstarter.
We're talking about Ley Line. Ley Line is a pen and paper fantasy role-playing game crafted for storytelling and player freedom. You'll face spine-chilling creatures like the grotesque Nuckelavee and the haunting Banshee, drawn from ancient myth and folklore. Players can embody a range of characters, from brave heroes and sinister villains to simple commoners working a farm. With the story thread system, you can play it like a crunchy dungeon crawler, a terrifying horror story, or a high fantasy adventure. If you can envision it, you can run it.
It's a really cool project. Gorgeous artwork. Really cool setting.
Fantastic artwork.
Very easy to get into rule set.
You know, most TTRPG rulebooks are either a lore dump or just rules, like a textbook or something, and I wouldn't read through them. But this one, I think I would actually read all the way through as just a book because of these cool short stories that are included in order to get you into the world building. Even the BroBots in disguise, Hayden and I, have had some small contributions to the short stories you will find in this epic TTRPG tome. And the system itself, the character creation and the way that that's actual integral part of the gameplay mechanics.
Yeah.
Fantastic idea, you know.
No, it's really good. And we're really happy to be a part of it. So, definitely check it out. Ley Line RPG on Kickstarter.
We'll put the website and the Kickstarter link in the description as soon as it's available, and we'll make another post about it eventually as well. All right, let's get back to our regular show. And we're back with Prime Target.
Yes. So the big game hunter.
Capital V.
Capital
Big
game hunter.
Capital Game.
Lord Chumley and his manservant Dinsmore set their sights on the head of Optimus Prime. Literally the head of Optimus Prime. They capture several Autobots in inane traps to lure Optimus into the hunt. Blitzwing and Astrotrain attempt an alliance with the hunter, but just mess things up. Optimus fights his way through Chumley's domain, rescues the Autobots, and brings the hunter to justice.
This is another wacky episode.
Yes.
And also we get a sort of a cameo from G.I. Joe, but not G.I. Joe, because October Guard is... number one, the Soviets are confirmed to exist now.
Yes, and they have tensions with America.
Right. So apparently...
Cold War shenanigans.
Yeah, Cold War shenanigans. October Guard is like the Soviet version of G.I. Joe.
Yeah, so they actually show up in the cartoon, or are mentioned in the cartoon and the comics. And also, apparently, the newscaster who brings up that the Russian plane is missing is Hector Ramirez, and he originated in G.I. Joe and shows up in various Hasbro Sunbow cartoons.
Yeah, so we get quite a few little crossovers here.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that the jet is top secret, and yet the basic news has video footage of the jet.
Yeah. Just spread all that information around.
That's a little side political tension going on in the background to this episode. It's that the jet disappears and the Russians blame America for it, but the outcome of this episode is that they Optimus solves that problem by solving the more immediate problem.
Yeah. It's funny that they aren't immediately concerned about the jet. They're just sort of like, okay, our people are getting kidnapped by this psycho dude. We gotta solve this.
All right. So one thing I want to talk about real quick is the Boer War.
Yes.
It has long been a...
Do you remember the Boer War?
It has long been a joke between Hayden and I to bring up the quote, these sorts of things blow over. Do you remember the Boer War? Painfully, sir. Yes, well, everybody else has forgotten it.
Exactly.
So, I did some digging. I did some actual research for this episode, which entails watching a YouTube video about the Boer War.
The first Boer War.
No, there are actually 2 Boer Wars.
Ah.
And basically what I found out is that the Boers actually have nothing to do with giant pigs.
Oh, man.
They
I thought
were
it was wrestling a giant pig.
Right. my 12-year-old brain thought the same thing. But anyway, the Boers were Dutch farmers who colonized South Africa and the Cape of Good Hope, and then got pushed out by the British colonists later on, and then they rebelled against the British colonists in South Africa. Inciting the first Boer War. Then they then things kind of settled down. They were recognized as their own group, and the British colonists were on their side. And then gold was discovered, and diamonds were discovered in the southern area of Africa and Tanzania and what other places down? Transvaal. Yeah, not Transylvania, Transvaal or something like that.
2 A's.
Yeah. So then the second Boer War happened, where yes. So now you know what the Boer War is.
Okay.
Yeah, and the first one took place in the middle of the 1800s, and the second one took place in the late 1800s, which
means this man is over 100 years old.
Yes, which will bring up what I want to talk about Lord Chumley and Dinsmore as we talk about them. The idea of a big game hunter going after bigger and bigger targets, working his way into military vehicles and eventually up to Transformers is a fantastic idea.
Okay.
I actually really like that.
this guy.
Yeah.
This guy, it's capital Lord Chumley and capital Dinsmore.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like there's a parallel there between them. They feel like a predecessor to the human villains in Transformers Animated, but on a massive scale. Like, they are 30 times more lethal and effective than anything in Animated. He's basically Kraven the Hunter from Spider-Man, where he's obsessed with the hunt,
right.
and hunting the big game and everything.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's just reached absurd levels to where he is harpooning jets in the Arctic and dragging them under the wall, mounting them onto a wall.
Yeah, how big is that wall? Where is this castle? What, on the moon? That landscape is crazy too.
And he has unlimited resources.
Yeah.
He has connections everywhere. He's a master of disguise. He is able to make these reality-bending traps. Like, some of them are genuinely, like, so absurd to the point where it's like, I don't think you can make a billboard do that.
Right. The traps are already ridiculous, but they quickly lose credibility very fast. Like, especially the hands coming out of the billboard.
It's a giant mechanical hand, whatever.
So, I'm starting to wonder if Chumley is more than a human. He has Looney Tune-like abilities to set up these traps that actually work. I wonder if he's some sort of, like, alien that planet hops hunting things.
I actually
He'll go to a planet and stay there for, like, 200 years hunting stuff, right? That would explain how he and Dinsmore remember the Boer War.
And...
as if they're, like, some sort of immortal aliens.
Yeah.
Now, apparently in the script, it says that Dinsmore is 101 years old, which he's getting around pretty good for 101 years, according to TF Wiki.
Yeah.
And Chumley is, like, in his 60s.
What?
Yeah. So, like, Chumley just knows about the Boer War, and Dinsmore...
Painful.
If this is in the 80s, then Dinsmore is actually old enough to remember the Boer War.
Okay.
He would have been, like, 10... But
yeah, painfully.
Because the second Boer War took place in like 1888, 1890 or something like that.
It's conceivable.
Yeah.
But there's two ways about this. I like the idea of him basically being the Predator, the Predator from the Predator franchise,
right?
And Q from Star Trek mixed, where he's just this like nigh omnipotent being.
Yeah.
That just goes after
by being wrapped up in a rope.
And he fashions himself as this big game hunter. Like, he just picks that persona.
Right.
And if he's ever reintroduced, I would love that. And that seems like a plausible explanation.
Yeah.
However, it is infinitely more funny if he's just a guy. He is just that good. Like, if this is the case, Megatron himself admits he's brilliant.
Right.
For Megatron to admit that. He didn't even say that about Archiville, a guy who helped take over the world. This guy is beyond an Archiville level threat.
Right.
It makes me think of the audio from
maybe he got rich from the Boer War, stealing all the gold.
Yeah.
And diamonds from the African people.
There you go. It all works.
Because he is British.
Yeah. Or he wants us to think that.
Maybe. Yeah.
But it just makes me think of the Makarov dialogue from one of the Modern Warfare games, where it's just like, he has no rules, no boundaries. He doesn't flinch at torture or treason.
And
he's not loyal to a flag or a country.
Yeah, and the torture that he puts the captured Autobots through is actually really terrifying.
It's simultaneously goofy and pretty horrifying, because it's like, Trax is like going in a continuous figure 8.
Yeah.
Bumblebee is forced to transform to avoid swinging blades.
He's in that Alexander Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, Edgar Allan
He's
Poe,
in the pit and the pendulum.
The pit and the pendulum.
But he's just having to like constantly transform into a car and then transform back to, and then keep doing it over and over and over again to avoid these blades that are otherwise going to chop his head off.
Yeah.
Grapple is stuck in place holding a gigantic boulder that will crush him. And it's shown that, like, yeah, if they didn't get to him on time, he's gonna lose to that boulder.
He's just gonna fall over. Yeah.
And then Beachcomber is having to jump over spikes for some reason on a continuous, like, hamster wheel situation.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's also pretty terrifying because of that. Because you can't predict this man.
Yeah.
There's nothing that he can't do.
Yeah. He has a dragon!
He has it
from Borneo!
It's like all of this stuff that he's coming up with is like, okay, it's all this mechanical.
Yeah,
things.
He's got like the spider slayers.
Yeah, it's
the mechanical.
He's got the scorpion spider slayers, a giant
actually,
like black arachnia prototype sort of thing.
Well, that's the thing. Like the giant mechanical spider makes me think of something that we would see in season 3.
Yeah,
like maybe he has hunted in space.
It could be, but like
the scorpion thing he probably built.
Most of it's like technological.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you could be willing to think he's like some sort of Tony Stark dude that's just like is inventing all of these things and everything.
Yeah.
And then there's the Borneo dragon. It's just a dragon from Borneo. And apparently there is actually like some mythological stories about a dragon that lives in a mountain in Borneo.
Yeah. Check out TF Wiki. They got a lot of interesting information on this episode.
But it's just a regular animal.
Yeah.
And Optimus sends it plummeting to the depths. It was like, magnificent creature. Yes, it was. Until we got sent plummeting to the pit.
No, he says, too bad he fell into the drink.
Into the drink.
Speaking of drinking.
Insane. Oh, yes.
The Autobots are watching As the Kitchen Sinks.
As the Kitchen Sinks.
They are
the soap opera.
Soap operas.
And the fact that it's Hector Ramirez interrupts the program to bring the breaking news, and I think it's Beachcomber, Inferno, Jazz, and one other Grapple. They're all sitting there watching it and they go, oh. Like, I like to think that they set up Teletran as like the recording. Like they have him record the episodes when they go out on missions so they can come back and watch them.
Right.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Beachcomber carries change for toll booths. I like that little detail.
Yes, you don't think about it, but in order to be a robot in disguise, which at this point in the story they're not really.
Right.
But like you would need stuff like that, at least in the 80s.
Like the police officer said in the first episode that Carly shows up, the immobilizer. He says that the traffic laws apply to Autobots too.
Yeah.
So it just, once again, a little bit of the car culture.
I could see like, depending on how you portray it, if they're fully robots in disguise, then it's like that's part of the spy. Right. Like, that's part of the spycraft is, like, carrying the change to be fully convincing.
He would still have to transform to put it in
still have to do it somehow. It's like, look, what's over there?
Yeah.
But the other one is, like, if they're at this point in the story where they're just recognized by everybody, it's just them being respectful and courteous, which is kind of neat.
I like that. Wow, Optimus has an uncanny, keen sense for what is and isn't a Decepticon plot.
He's like, somehow, for some reason, for some spark-forsaken reason, this isn't a Decepticon plot.
Yeah.
And I just know.
Even though it's totally something they would do.
It absolutely is.
Catching a secret airplane or capturing Autobots or something. Yeah.
And making like a gauntlet for Prime to go through.
Yeah. It's neat to see Optimus get through this D&D dungeon.
Yeah.
And also his righteous fury to rescue his friends. And then also sometimes he's just over it. He's like, come on.
Nice try, Chumley.
I love the part where he's flying in truck mode with a jetpack.
Yes. Also, just him, like, catching Wise, and it's mostly, like, an annoyance. Like, he struggles and everything.
Yeah.
But he's just kind of plowing his way through. Like, none of it's really stopping him.
Right.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
And then also getting Blitzwing and Astrotrain into the mix. Like, they just kind of show up.
They just show up and mess things up.
Yeah. And then, you know...
I like how they double-crossed Chumley, though.
Yeah.
After they just did all the double-crossing it. It's funny that...
What's cool that Chumley is like...
this episode comes after Triple Takeover, because Megatron sends them as his envoys.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought, well, if they get attacked by all of these traps, then that's punishment for last episode.
They're out of my hair now. But, like, it's cool that Chumley is, like, he's so hyper-fixated on, like, you know, the big game, Optimus Prime and everything.
Right.
Is that... he's solely focused on Prime.
Yeah.
Which means he hasn't researched Decepticons.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know, like, you can't trust Decepticons.
I guess
and that's, like, the lesson that he learns is, like, oh, shoot, these guys are evil.
Just like me.
Yeah.
But also, I love a good turnaround. Oh, the hunter is hunted now.
Yeah.
You know, oh, look
and
how like, small he is.
Sniveling and, like, in the corner, like, ah!
Right. Also, the well-researched mock-up of Cybertron, like, I guess maybe he took some pictures while Cybertron was in orbit or something.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah, his well-researched recreation.
Right.
Which I like how he's saying that when the Borneo dragon is sneaking up on Optimus.
Yes. And he's just waiting for him to finish, too.
Yeah. He's like, I'll jump you in a second.
Yeah. This castle looks like something out of, like, I don't know, He-Man or something.
It's like weirdly next to like an abandoned oil refinery or something like that.
Yeah. And it's got like these weird like satellite things coming off of it.
Yeah.
And, like the rock formations around it. Or I wonder where it's supposed to be.
I love a good abandoned locale turned into an improbable death trap.
Yeah.
But this is insane.
It's like a Cobra base or something.
Yeah. So all in all,
maybe he works with Cobra.
Maybe. He's a free agent.
He
he works for no man but himself and the glory of the hunt.
What a weird.
This one's not really
conceptually. I like this episode.
Yes,
I will say that
it's funny.
Yeah. If you want a more serious take on it, I would suggest the episode where Lockdown shows up in animated.
Yeah,
to hunt down.
Heck,
Optimus
even
Prime.
Arachnid's debut in Transformers Prime.
True.
Just for the headhunting aspect of it.
Yeah. Because she's also a collector.
Yeah,
trophies. And I feel like there's some other episodes too. But yeah, this is a wild episode.
This is a deeply unserious episode. It's not really about anything in specific.
I mean, it shows a little bit of Optimus's character and how much he cares for his troops.
And also that he's wise as well. Like, he's discerning.
Yeah.
He doesn't go after the crying girl chained to an anvil.
Yeah.
Because he's like, this is ridiculous.
Okay.
I cannot be falling for this.
She does blow up because she is like a robot, right? When Blitzwing steps on her, or did he just squash a human?
I think either she was an android fit to explode, or she was a legit person just strapped with explosives. If so...
So the idea was that Optimus would grab her, she'd explode, and then he'd get a chain clamped onto his arm.
I guess. I don't
and all
know.
that goo.
I don't know. It's a booby trap made for boobies.
With boobies.
With boobies. Yeah, this one is weird.
Yeah. She's also wearing the same tattered, barbarian outfit.
The pink barbarian outfit that shows up a lot.
Alana and the girl in that one episode of Headmasters is wearing.
Yeah. Yeah, admittedly, this one is massively entertaining. It's weird, and it's not really about anything.
Yeah,
it's just absurdity for the sake of absurdity, and that's fun.
All right, with that, let's take a break. Hey, before we get back to our regular episodes, we got one more thing to say. Our short summer hiatus is coming up, but we won't be gone forever.
We will not have a full podcast episode in June or July, which gives us a chance to work ahead, and then if everything goes well, full podcasts will resume in August.
Yes, which means that the way we've got it set up, we should be done with season 2 by the end of 2025.
Yes!
But don't worry, we plan to release a few short videos during the summer to fill in the time. Just wanted to let y'all know now in case you don't make it to the end of the episode where we will say it again.
Exactly.
Or read the description where I will put that our next episode is in August. Anyway, back to the show. And we're back with Autobop.
This one was always really hard to pronounce for me. I don't know why.
Autobop?
Autobop. Because I would always default to saying bot.
Blaster and Trax meet up with... No, I'm sorry. Hey, I know you read the last one, but read this in Trax for us.
Blaster and Trax meet up with Rawl and his friends Poplock and Rocksteady to investigate the Dancetron nightclub. People in strange places, construction at 2 a.m., and train accidents. Turns out, Soundwave and Starscream were hypnotizing humans with the power of music for slave labor. That's a wild sentence to say. Trax is captured by hypnotized people, then rescued by Rawl, and chases Starscream, while Blaster has a showdown with Soundwave.
So we open with a line of JoJo characters.
Oh my gosh.
There is so much 80s stuff in this episode.
My eyeballs were assaulted in the beginning shot of this
Epilepsy
episode.
warning for this episode,
Where
too.
he's like, oh, that's a lot of 80s fashion. But we're back. We are so back, baby. Raoul's back. And so are
buddy.
the ridiculous 80s trends. Oh, man, it's so good.
I love as soon as Trax and Raoul meet up, they just start ribbing each other.
It's right back up. This really is a part 2, or like, not even a part 2, just a spiritual successor to
This is a
Make
sequel.
Tracks.
Not
Yeah.
part 2 is a sequel to Make Tracks.
And it gets better. Like, just the dynamic duo, they're back and they're at it, and their chemistry is electric.
Yeah,
And now we got Blaster in the mix as well.
Yeah. And 2 other guys.
And Pop, Lock, and Rocksteady, which just made me think of Bebop and Rocksteady from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Right.
I think one of them kind of talks like him, too. But, yeah, I also was having a hard time distinguish which one was which. They just say, like, these are my friends, Pop, Lock, and Rocksteady. It's like, which one is which? Yeah, it's very, very 80s, like, eclectic 80s, like, giant mohawks, neon green hair, just, like, leather and studs, and the whole shebang.
The Road Warrior rejects.
But it's funny that they actually draw attention to that.
There is so many cultural references in this episode.
Yes.
That's not usually, Transformers doesn't usually build its jokes around pop culture references.
Yeah.
At least not in G1.
But these guys are hip to the scene.
Yeah. So they stuffed it all into this episode.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I love that they have Blaster in on the mix. And he feels like this little, like...
Yeah, he makes sense.
This little domain of street-level crime-solving Autobots and Decepticons doing, like, these, like, cover
Small
operations, like,
things,
kind of mob boss level, like, the Dancetron, it's a front for the actual plan sort of thing.
Yeah.
And...
I mean, if you put it... It's funny if you put it in series with the other New York episodes. You've got the one where they take over New York and turn it into New Cybertron.
Yeah.
And then smaller scale, we're stealing all the cars and turning them into drones.
Yeah.
And then smaller scale, we've got this one little hideout where we're hypnotizing people to build a building for some reason.
We're building something.
We never find out what they are building.
They're building a building.
Yeah.
Equal opportunity housing.
Yeah, that's why
Blaster destroys it.
Who's the real villain here?
We'll destroy those Decepticons' ne'er-do-well scheme. Clearly they're up to no good. And all the homeless people that were lined up to live there just like, oh man.
That's why they got all these weird eclectic groups of people in the Dancetron.
Yeah.
They just wanted to live in that office building.
Exactly. I can't believe it. Blaster supporting the band.
Yeah, we really have no idea what that building is for.
Yeah,
At least not according to anything stated in the episode.
Yeah.
Maybe in the script it said, but it got cut before it went on air.
Right. But I like the common elements of this one that are bleed over from Make Tracks. Like, they're even still based out of Sparkplug's garage.
Yeah.
And
actually, Blaster and Trax was the original duo, the Sting Operation. At the beginning of Make Tracks.
Right.
Oh, and then the next New York episode is when they go to the Statue of Liberty. So they're barely in New York at all at that point.
But like,
so it's just a smaller scale.
Like, I really want more of. I mean, obviously, I want this whole little spin-off thing, but like,
right.
I feel like Blaster, Trax, Jazz, Prowl, all of these like characters that are super in tune with human culture, or are very like, you know, police or you know, the law oriented and stuff. Heck, you could even have like a moment where Ultra Magnus shows up, because like different interpretations of him being basically like Judge Dredd. Like the space cop. But you know, I absolutely love everything to do with the New York street level shenanigans.
Right. I like the investigative aspect of this episode, but if you're not paying attention, it feels like there's a lot of going back and forth for no reason, and just happening to be in the right place at the right time. But when you really pay attention to it, it's not as bad as I thought.
Right. Like the whole plot is a mind control thing.
Right.
The Dancetron.
Right.
But it could have very easily just been, you know, oh, people are getting mind control, let's stop the Decepticons. But they do a good job at like slowly unfolding the plot, and it's kind of a mystery of like, why are these random people all together? Right. And why is the Dancetron suddenly so big and popular?
Right.
Why are people building in a construction site in the morning? And you don't actually get the reveal that it's you know that it's a Decepticon plot, because we briefly see them.
Right.
And they're like, oh shoot, there's, you know, Autobots here. But it's not ever fully revealed until like the middle of the episode that it's a hypnosis thing.
Right.
And it's really interesting that this is one of the few plot lines, other than the Ultimate Doom, to use Decepticons using humans as their like slave labor force, or, you know, the kind of a walking hostage situation.
Right.
Because it's super effective.
Yeah, because the Autobots aren't allowed to squish humans.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you navigate, like, hey, these guys, you know, it's my mission to protect them, but they're trying to kill me.
Right.
So what do I do? And, you know, it's super effective, so I don't know why they don't do it more often, but this is one where it kind of works really well, and they actually kind of play up the like harrowing aspect of it, where Pop, Lock, and Rocksteady, they get mind controlled as they're dancing, and it's just like the dead gaze that comes over their face,
cutting back, and their gaze is more,
but they're still just dancing and stuff.
Right.
And then them like holding down Raoul and forcing him to listen to the music, and then he like breaks free and he's like splashing water on his face and stuff. I remember that being like pretty like intense watching that as a kid, and especially Trax getting crucified on the sound system.
Crucified to music.
And it's just like being torn apart by sound waves and stuff. It's like, that's kind of terrifying.
It is pretty intense. He's chained to the speakers.
But
it's very Road Warrior also. Very Mad Max.
Strap him to the sound system.
Right.
But I love the progression of this episode.
Yeah. It's a neat idea, and I think it also probably plays on some cultural fears, like some tropes about like dance halls and 80s music. And
it's the subliminal messages in music.
Subliminal messages. Yeah, it's during the whole scare of the subliminal messages in music and the, you know, satanic panic and stuff like that. You know, I feel like this kind of plays a little bit on that sort of stuff that's going on. You know. And you talked about it being similar to the Hypno Chips.
It's a good slobs versus snobs as well. Where it's like you have the street level Raoul, and they just have like a cardboard mat.
Right.
And they're like, we want to get into the Dancetron, and it's like, you guys aren't cool enough to get into the Dancetron. And then they're like, well, the Dancetron's not even cool because it's a hypnotic thing.
Right. Well, it also plays into sort of like, you know, how it's an interesting analogy for how, like, also, they're just the street level artists, just the regular.
They have passion.
They have passion, they're just, the small business, whatever. But then the big corpo is taking what people are passionate about and turning it into a commodity and making money off of it.
And then also everyone who goes there is just mind controlled. Like
Right. They're just mind
it's
controlled,
how
right.
like you mindlessly follow what's popular. Sort of
Right,
thing.
right. Yeah. But it makes me wonder, how did they get all these disparate people in there in the first place to get mind controlled? And I want to talk about how does the mind control work too, because it's like with the guy on the train, it seems like it's a sleeper mind control. Like you don't
just
realize
kinda
your
goes
mind
like,
control
"Ugh."
until they give you a command, right? And then you're doing whatever they want you to, right? So they can activate it at any point. But that makes me wonder if nobody ever showered while they weren't being mind controlled.
True.
Because if water is what breaks the hypnosis, you just needed to touch grass.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of complicated.
I
It's best
it's
if
more
you
of
don't
like
think
the
about it
sudden
too much.
shock is what gets them out of it.
Yeah.
Because like if you take a shower, you're usually waiting for the water to get hot, and it's not surprising when it gets hot. So
Right.
it's probably just the sudden like "Ugh!" sort of thing. But I don't know. It is like it's an ultrasonic frequency, and I do like that sound wave is involved with this. Like this is kind of one of the few plans that he's like integral to.
Yeah. It's neat to see Soundwave like as part of this mastermind of the
What's rare to see Soundwave
conspiracy.
actually use sound waves.
right. And I love how when the jig is up, he just smashes out of that window, and he's
That's
like,
really cool.
All my victims have left. I'm getting in this scrap, and I think this is the first really big Soundwave versus Blaster fight we've had.
Yeah,
And we even get a weird Soundwave laugh in this episode.
Like,
I don't think he's laughed before, and he'll laugh again, but it's usually only in a crowd and downplayed.
Yeah.
This one is terrifying.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love that they kind of bill it as like it's a diss battle. Like they're standing on the dance floor.
It's kind of like a rap battle.
rap
but
battle.
They're throwing tunes at each other.
Yeah, but there's a lot of potential for this to be like way more played up.
Yeah.
And have it be like a full-on music battle that turns into like...
Oh, I love when music is still playing in the background while a battle is happening.
Yeah.
I love that trope.
I want to see like
diegetic music.
The showdown with these two be like a full John Wick sequence where it's like in the club, the lights are flashing, the sound is heavy, and it's like dueling sound, and then they start dueling each other, and then it just like escalates and stuff.
I like that fight in Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and like with the last episode, I love when a bad guy's plot comes back to bite them, or they destroy their own plot. Here, Soundwave accidentally destroys his own sound system.
Yeah. And then also Blaster bringing down the house. It's like, okay, that's pretty great.
Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to bring up. Oh yeah. Also, I think there's a Blaster toy that comes with those speakers as an attachment.
Oh, sweet.
But another thing I wanted to bring up was why was Starscream trying to crash a whole train just to kill 3 kids? And then he never bothers with them again.
Yeah.
Unless that guy giving them tickets in the alley wasn't just free pass out of tickets, but specifically trying to get them into the club.
I think that's what it was. Like, because they never received anything like that before.
Yeah. But it's also probably how they got so many disparate people
just like
into
handing out free tickets.
Handing out free tickets. Oh, well, I might as well go check it out.
Yeah.
But I think it's really funny that the humans inside the Dancetron just think the Transformers are people wearing giant clothes or something.
The great interaction where he's just like, where'd you get them threads? Cybertron. Wait, what's the address?
Yeah. I mean, maybe that just kind of goes back to everyone knows them as celebrities now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
But yeah, All in all, the bot crew is back in business.
Is it bot or bop?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
All right.
All in all, good episode. There's a lot of potential with this, as with the previous New York episodes.
Right.
But I like this a lot. It's very good. Raoul and Trax are the best and fantastic. And I love that Raoul makes fun of Trax's puns. And it's like, oh, jeez, get a load of this guy.
Yeah. Man, how did I end up with you?
Yeah. Good, competent, street-level storyline.
Yeah. What I would like to see is a, specifically like a 80s, 90s anime bubble style OVA series based on this concept.
Like,
you got your Megazone.
A city pop sort of thing.
Yeah. Like your Megazone 25 or your, what else? Bubblegum Crisis, stuff like that.
I would love that. Yeah. Anything else?
No, let's take a short break and come back with our segments. And we're back with our segments. First segment, best quotes and weird robot lingo. You want to take turns reading out these episodes?
Yeah.
Which episodes do you want?
I'll do Sea Change first.
You'll definitely want Autobop, I'm sure.
Yes.
I'll take the two middle ones.
Okay. Listen, noteworthy one-liners, dialogue, or weird robot versions of idioms. So for Sea Change, Jock says, you are a computer with no life of your own. Why destroy ours? Because that is my programming, Deceptitran. Cosmos.
I think that's a pretty good line. Just kind of a nice little reflection on like colonialism.
Right. It's like, why destroy ours? Because it's what we do. Cosmos being worried about the important things. Oh no, my paint job's ruined. Oh. Sea Spray being a silly goof. For Christmas.
I love the way you spelled that.
It's so difficult to do as gargle.
Yeah.
Deceptitran panicking over being attacked, but it was awful. Megatron. So these organic creatures are Transformers too. Rumble. Ha! I'm gonna transform their city into junk. Rumble again. Piece of carbo, run them, boss. What?
I don't know. I just put it in there because it's a weird robot idiom.
Carbo rundum boss. Okay.
No. Piece of carbo rundum, boss.
Oh, okay.
Is the way he says it. I just thought carbo rundum was a weird idiom.
Alana, you like?
that quote lives in my head for some reason. I don't know why. It's just so
flirty.
It's so weird. It's weird.
It's also funny that Sea Spray is like, oh jeez. Megatron to Astrotrain. Transform, you sponge, and get us out of here!
Why does he call him a sponge?
Because he just absorbed a lot of water. He was drowning.
Alright, triple takeover. No planet ever lost its orbit underestimating the stupidity of Starscream.
This is very true.
Astrotrain. A secret Autobot power station in a sewer? Megatron doubts Starscream's plan. The all-time favorite. Coach, it's a tank! What do I do? Give him the ball! The pragmatic coach and the confused football player.
His logic is flawless. Like, I would too.
Contracts, like traitors, are made to be broken, Blitzwing, the traitor, says. That's it. I'm retiring now. The engineer.
He's seen too much.
It's like the firefighter.
Yeah.
Billy Blazes.
After this, I need a vacation.
Who needs you spineless plasm heads? Astrotrain.
We're gonna add that to the repertoire.
And then again, Astrotrain with, even soldiers need brains.
I don't know if they do. Blitzwing is a pretty good example of that.
And then also, it's hard to find good helps these days. Astrotrain just always has great lines.
He's so relatable.
And then the all-time classic between Megatron and Starscream. You are either lying or you are stupid. I'm stupid! Amazing. Just, cinema. Alright, back with Blitzwing. Tell you what, guys. Why don't you build a bridge and jump off it?
It's incredible.
Blitzwing saying to the Constructicons. And then Optimus with incredible life advice. I never get involved in domestic squabbles.
Words to the wise.
And then also, a great leader words, Optimus Prime with, thrones are for Decepticons. I'd rather roll.
He doesn't support the monarchy.
Alright, then we move into Prime Target, which had another truckload of great lines.
So many good ones.
Trax just... I don't know what it is in this episode, but Trax just dishes on Bumblebee. Bumblebee, I fear some of us have much to be humble about.
Bumblebee just rolls with the punches,
And then
but
he just,
dang.
and then he's just going on about his adoring fans and stuff. Somebody just read the is prideful and just took it to the maximum in that script. Then, of course, the all-time favorite. These things blow over. Remember the Boer War? Painfully, sir. Oh, yes, well, everyone else has forgotten it. Which now I hope that you do not forget it, because I told you about it, and I'm going to post a link in the description to that video about the Boer War.
Never forget the Boer War. Forget the Alamo. Remember the Boer War.
Yeah, Chumley and Dinsmore. And then Dinsmore with what I'm going to be saying when I'm old and don't want to do things. Perhaps we should make a day of it.
Bushed.
Chumley with drat, double drat. Drat, dash, double drat. And Starscream making a good point. He's done more in 2 days than you've done in 2 years.
Valid. Chumley is unbeatable.
And then Chumley with, oh, here comes the robot now, dressed as a semi-truck. How punctual.
Very punctual.
And then another all-time classic. Amazing. A booby trap that actually catches boobies.
Not those kind of boobies.
I mean, it was using boobies.
That's true.
As the bait. And then Chumley and Dimsor. Decepticons! Trust them to spoil the hunt! Yes, sir. Just like the Humane Society in a way.
Just the random Deep Lord reference.
Yeah, at some point they've had run-ins with the Humane Society.
Yeah.
And then also Chumley with, I'd sooner have the help of an aardvark. And then, okay, I know it's wrong because it's supposed to be a reference, but Optimus, it sounds like he says, neither impossible nor impossible.
Also, honorable mention is
What else you got?
I'm trying to remember what it is, but at one point Chumley says something in a British accent, and then it cuts to Astrotrain, and he just inexplicably says the same exact thing.
Oh yeah,
in a British accent.
Where Blitzwing springs the trap and gets trapped, and Chumley says, "Oh, you clumsy fool!" And then Astrotrain says, "Clumsy fool! I'll have to go get help."
And finally, Autobop. Poplock observing the the eclectic crowd around the Dancetron. What an unusual hiring policy this club's got. Time to pull a Michael Jackson. Let's beat it, says Raoul as he's vaguely dressed as Michael Jackson. Where'd you get those threads, Soho? Cybertron. Trax and a random Dancetron attendee. In spite of all of my surveillance, 2 Autobots just waltz in here! Starscream. Not really having the best time with his surveillance system. They like to let in the weirdos. Gives the place atmosphere. Blaster. Also want to point out that he's got a really distinct vocoder in this episode.
Oh yeah.
Like it's it doesn't really show up that much, but it's like very like zzz, like it's got a
and one thing I
to
wanted
it.
to point out I forgot in the episode. He's just straight up shooting at humans
Yes.
with a laser gun, who are also shooting at him with laser guns.
Yeah. Blaster's like, these hands are rated E for everyone. All talk, no shock. Soundwave throwing down the disses. Drax saying,
Raul says it first, and then Trax repeats it at the
that's
end
right.
of the
It's
episode.
like, some people got the juice and some don't. And we got the juice. Drax and Raul continuing to be the best dynamic duo.
All right, so favorite characters in this batch of episodes, who and why? Oh, I'm sorry. And on to our next segment. Favorite characters in this batch of episodes, mention who and why. Cosmos. Actually, I'm going to say
Raul.
Astrotrain.
Honestly, he's pretty good.
He's getting up there as one of my favorite characters.
Chumley.
Or Dimsmore.
There's so many good ones in
There's
this
a lot
one.
of good ones, yeah.
Raul.
Trax.
Trax. That random guy who asks about the threads. Probably Chumley, honestly.
What about Deceptitran?
Deceptitran is... It was awful!
He really is awful.
This is actually pretty difficult. Sea Spray's actually pretty up there just because he's a little self-actualized stumpy little dude.
Stumpy little dude.
He's a stumpy little self-actualized dude. It's probably between Chumley and Sea Spray, honestly. Sea Spray for a very wholesome reason, and Chumley for a extremely goofy reason.
I might go with Blitzwing because he is so amusing in this episode.
Zone defense.
You don't say. Also, he keeps that guy in a locker. That's his office, is a locker.
You got your office here.
A huge locker. We forgot to mention that.
Oh, man.
Anyway, next segment. Magic Slidey Hand Tech. Any notable gadgets Transformers pull out from their various body parts? Go ahead and read us through, Hayden.
Sea Spray, he's got a chest radio.
Yeah.
He also mentions that his heart is an energon pump.
Oh yeah, we've had that mentioned several times.
He does say it's more of a, like, in a metaphorical sense. Dirge has a probe. B has a wrist comm, which is pretty consistent. Megatron has a wrist comm, which is pretty consistent. Absolute 0-degree molecules. I have no idea where they got those. The billboard that's for some reason a touchscreen, like you shoot stuff at it and it goes up.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not just him changing it with the electricity from his gun. We actually have a lot of guns doing random things in that episode.
Electricity gun, because why not?
Yeah. But also the football hits it and it goes up.
Yeah. Ironhide deploys some liquid nitrogen.
Oh yeah.
A lot of guns doing random things. Yeah. Inferno has a wrist comm. Teletran has a feedback overload switch. B has a little cheek radio that pops out at one point. Blaster has speaker hands. He just sticks them into the like megaphone speakers that are on the side of this sound system, and is just able to use them as sound amplifiers. They're like gloves.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Even though his speakers are on his legs, which they actually do draw reference to, where he lifts his knee and... anyway. Next segment. Favorite errors, any noteworthy animation, sound design, or lore mistakes. Sea change, we have some weird cuts and weird voice stuff occasionally. The planet or moon looks brown and barren compared to the actual surface. From space, it looks brown and barren.
Oh, yeah.
We have a redhead Perceptor on the loose.
Not a bad look.
I don't like that when Robot Alana transforms, she just glows and morphs instead of, like, puzzles the way that an actual Transformer does.
Yeah,
I do like that she turns into a little gondola.
Yeah.
But,
I do appreciate that they tried to make, like, let's make Transformers, like, the concept of Transformers, but not Transformers. And Does it work in execution? Kind of, not really. But I like the intention.
Yeah. I like that she can transform. I just wish that they actually did a transformation scheme for her.
Yeah.
They do that for the female Autobots. Wait, is she the first female Autobot, technically?
On screen, yes.
I guess.
I think so. But she's not an Autobot.
Triple Takeover! There's a lot of miscolors and characters where they shouldn't be. This episode was also animated by an unknown studio, and yeah, it does look a little off.
It's a little fuzzy.
Not as bad as an ACOM episode, but it's a little off.
Yeah.
That is a big sewer.
Very large.
We got the return of Blue Eye Starscream.
Which I really like. I really like that look on him.
Oops, Ulchtar is in this, because we've got lots of characters showing up where they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know, Starscream's supposed to be frozen, but
oops,
there he is.
Ulchtar.
Yep. Mouths taking the wrong lines. Autobot Blitzwing. It's just the way that Scrapper says his own name is funny. And I guess that was supposed to be an accidental kiss joke, but it where they accidentally kiss, but why would Transformers know and be disgusted by kissing? Well, I guess they would be disgusted by kissing.
Ew.
But I don't think that they would maybe not have that on Cybertron. I don't know. Some of them have pretty pronounced lips, so maybe they do have kissing
Overlord lips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Scrapper doesn't have a mouth.
Yeah.
he has a faceplate, so it's funny, but it's also kind of like, huh? And then why does the big continuity error in this episode is, why does Astrotrain have a score to settle with Blitzwing? What did Blitzwing do? They just went their separate ways.
Yeah.
Was it something before they go to the football stadium and the train station? Did they argue after they trapped?
I think they just got beef.
Did they argue after they trapped Starscream and Megatron, or was Blitzwing bombing the city that Astrotrain was in? Did he bomb his trains? Is that why they were in a mess when he went back into the tunnel? That would explain it.
Yeah, I can see that,
because
he did a lot of collateral damage.
Right. If we got to see that happen, that his trains got turned over by Astrotrain, by Blitzwing's bombs, then that would make that line make sense. But it's weird that he has a score to settle with Blitzwing.
Which would be, it would make a good bit of sense with, his thematic through line of things being out of his control.
Right.
And
sure.
Then somebody else causes him to, lose his control. So
anyway, Prime Target. There's some odd editing in this episode and some odd framing or staging of a few shots, but
it's not too bad.
It's not too bad. Overall, the episode's pretty decent animation. Although there is a lot of mouths moving when they shouldn't be, and people taking the wrong lines. So anyway. Autobop. Soundwave has a 5 o'clock shadow in one scene. His mouth plate is dark gray.
That's right,
and it makes him look like he has a beard. There is a weird screen thing that moves out of the way when Starscream jumps out the window near the end of the episode. I don't know what's going on there. And then there are lots of people swapping colors between shots. Of course, if you want a comprehensive list, go to TF Wiki. They got everything. Speaking of TF Wiki, on to our next segment. TF Wiki Go Button Trivia page, where this time Hayden will hit the random page button on TF Wiki, the Go button, and give us a brief synopsis of a random page he lands on.
Yes.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay, so for me...
Oh, no.
We love this one. I have... Grand Galvatron.
Yes.
So everyone type in Grand Galvatron
Yeah.
Into your TF Wiki search bar.
I think you mean this is Unicorn.
Yes. Otherwise known as Grando Galvatron. Grand Galvatron is the deranged power fantasy of Galvatron's twisted mind. Inspired by and envious of the tremendous power of Unicron, Galvatron envisions an upgrade for himself that would be unstoppable, that would have to be built out of the dead bodies of his own troops, and possibly even the destroyed husk of the entire planet Earth, or Cybertron. This does not bother Galvatron at all. Galvatron eventually made this dream a reality. which this is actually the interesting part. But the quote, as attached, is directly from the episode in which he envisions this, is Punch of, Punch and Counterpunch, saying, "His plan is terrible." Which could equally be interpreted as, "What a terrible, frightful plan." What a terrible plan.
Yeah.
Because the image for this is just Galvatron's arms, legs, and head copied pasted onto the top of this vaguely Cybertron planet shape.
Kind of
Unicron-ish, but it's got all
the
these
Unicron prototype toys fat torso.
Yes.
Right?
And it's just
but with Galvatron limbs.
Round, tubby Galvatron with he looks like just a beach ball.
Floating in space.
Floating in space. And he's fantasizing about this as this will be the culmination of everything. This is be my greatest plan yet. And he envisions this and he's like, yes! And it's the goofiest thing on the planet. It's so good. But apparently, at one point in a comic called Unite Warriors, he did actually make this grand Galvatron thing. It's a combination of
it's the Combiner Wars repaints as different characters combined together.
So it's Cyclonus as the torso, Armada Thrust, Curse Armada Thrust, Zombie War Breakdown, and Wandering Roller as limbs. And guess who the other limb is? Ghost Starscream.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, at one point this was in fact a thing. There was actually a very small version of him made as a convention prop, but it never actually became a thing. But yeah.
Well, you mean the original concept is a prop, but the toy, you can actually get that Combiner toy.
Yes, you can't get the Combiner toy, but the prop that is Beach Ball Galvatron is not a thing anymore. But this also is made very famous by the fact that in the Omni Productions dub of this episode that he envisions this, when he's showing it to him, he says, "This is Unicorn."
That's the really bad
a really bad English dub of
really
Headmasters.
Dub, yeah.
And Six Shot actually in response is just like, "Whoa."
Because if your boss drags you off into a room to tell you his fantasy of becoming a planet,
just a giant tubby beach ball planet,
how do you respond while you're on the clock?
Whoa. Very good, my lord.
Exactly. And you know that he has a tendency to either fire or fire at
exactly
people he doesn't like.
You're famously mentally unstable boss.
Right.
And prone to violent outbursts. But yeah.
His plan is terrible.
His plan is terrible.
And it is terrible.
Yeah.
It is terrible as in its greatness, and it is terrible in its badness.
So, yeah. Grandu Galvatron.
Amazing. Fantastic find, sir.
All right. On to the next one.
You go ahead.
Cliffhanger questions. One of us asks the other a random Transformers related question that the other person will answer in the next episode. So last episode, I asked you, Frankie, what sort of video game that hasn't really been done before do you want to see Transformers do in the near future?
Yeah, so this wasn't just what kind of Transformers video game would I like to see, this is specifically, what would I like to see them do that they haven't done before? Okay. And you phrased it in such a way that is that would play to the strengths of Transformers,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. Which is what you want from Transformers games, something that integrates transforming into the core mechanics of the game, right? So TF games that already... I had to go and find out what TF games already exist. There's a pretty decent, like, idea of, like, the main console games. But then there's, like, 1,000 live-action movie games on different consoles and, like, 1,000 mobile games.
Yeah.
Thank God for... those YouTube videos that are evolution of blank games.
Yes.
And and there was one for Transformer games, and so I watched that. And in the 80s, we had sort of the side scroll adventure and sort of the command center shooter sort of arcade type games.
Yeah.
In the Beast Wars era, we got our arena fighters, our sort of Mortal Kombat type fighting games.
Yeah.
Then there's on the PlayStation 2, you got the Generation 1 and the Armada PlayStation 2 games. They're sort of like 3D adventure combat.
Right.
And then the live action gave us sort of semi-open world adventures, sort of RPG elements where you can upgrade your guys and stuff like that. War for Cybertron gave us the straight up shooters, you know, shooter type games.
They were really good.
Yeah. Animated, so that's sort of your like Halo type games, you know. Animated and Prime gave us some more adventure games. Devastation is sort of a beat 'em up adventure. What would you call that?
That's like a hack and slash.
Hack and slash adventure game. There is a recent one called Galactic Trials that is a racing shooter.
Oh yeah,
like,
I forgot about that one. It's
you're
like Mario Kart, but with guns.
Right. And then Reactivated was deactivated, so I don't know what.
Yeah,
that was
Reactivated was like that weird alien invasion Transformers thing that it's not really a thing anymore. I'm pretty sure it's canceled now, but yeah, I don't know if we'll ever see that make the light of day.
On the web, we got various Flash games, tower defense, side scrollers, fighters, beam battles, mini games, web games, real-time strategy games, and there was even during Prime there's like a Chinese or Japanese MMORPG.
Oh wow.
Yeah. On the apps, the mobile, we've got RTS, side scrollers, the Mortal Kombat style, multiverse fighters, point and click, turn-based RPG, and then there's some arcade games, and there's even a tabletop roleplay game now.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah. So, what haven't they done? We need some indie-style weird games.
Yeah. Transformers Undertale.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was going to say next is JRPG.
Yeah.
It would work with the sort of strategizing the special powers that alt modes give you, or increasing your power with upgrades, repaints, mini-cons, combiners, stuff like that. It would work well to that sort of strategy aspect of JRPG.
The storyline is always like one of the biggest draws of a JRPG, so... having, like, you know, an arching story would be pretty neat to see.
Now, speaking of Japanese type video games, another thing that they haven't done that I think they probably should do is a romance visual novel. I mean, we just talked about the romance between Seaspray and the Alana girl, you know?
Yeah.
We've got tons of female characters that always get totally over-sexualized in the Japanese market.
There's IDW
IDW is a hotbed for relationships.
Shipping galore.
You know Starscream is going to be in it.
Oh, yeah.
Also, we've got The Girl Who Loves Powerglide coming up in the next episode.
Yeah.
And so on and so on, you know. Also, we could do with my next couple of ideas, this is technically kind of already been done, but I want something a little more specifically Super Smash Bros. Spider-Verse, like a Spider-Verse art style to a Super Smash Bros. Collision of characters that like
you get everyone's here sort of thing.
They have an app one of the mobile games is sort of a multi-verse fighter where you got characters from live action fighting Combiner Wars characters and stuff like that. But I'm talking like get them from all over Transformers and, Transformers universe, bringing them all in and having them fight with like Super Smash Bros. Type mechanics, not
like a Brawlhalla type deal.
Yeah. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But my next couple of ideas have to do with interesting pairings of characters that we've talked about before. Number 1, Hot Rod and Daniel fishing minigame.
Now, is this just a minigame in a game, or is this like the full game?
That's the game.
That's the game, okay.
Yeah. Not that I would really play
10 out of 10.
It needs to exist.
10 out of 10.
I don't know what transformation has to do with it, though.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But no, more serious answers. We need like a Bot W style galaxy spanning...
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild style galaxy spanning DevCon and Slizardo bounty hunting game.
Yes.
With the rival being Lockdown.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So it's free play. You can go to like just any place on the map or the planet or whatever. You know, you can fly to different planets and you'll get different jobs at different places and have to hunt down different Decepticons. And then there's like your rival Lockdown is always trying to get
the plot line of Red Dead Redemption where it's like you're working with Lockdown at first and he's just like, "Where's the money?" And it's like, "We gotta get the money."
But I think this one you'll really like. We need Transformers Grand Theft Auto with Trax and Raoul.
See, GTA Transformers is already like a complete win. Like I genuinely don't understand how they haven't done that yet.
Exactly.
But Trax and Raoul, pitch perfect. I
think if any of these are going to get done, that one should probably be the first one to be done.
Yes, absolutely. 10 out of 10.
We got GTA with Trax and Raoul before we got GTA 6.
For real, though, GTA Transformers feels like it writes itself. Like, come on.
Car culture, Transformers, Autobots, Trax, Raoul.
Collect them all.
80s nostalgia, come on.
80s nostalgia.
2000s
scan vehicle modes to be able to transform into them. Like, come on.
Right. And you got your 80s nostalgia because it's set in the 80s, but it's 2000s nostalgia because it's based on Grand Theft Auto. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's about done it for my answer there. Mostly just goofy stuff.
Games...
I haven't really thought it out a whole lot, but that's just kind of my ideas.
Yeah, like spitballing.
That's my pitches.
It's
to
also
the idea room.
Like it kind of touches base on like, well, the video games aren't really like one of the biggest pillars of the Transformers franchise in general. Like they're more of supplementary than anything else. With like
we've had a
sporadic...
few good ones, and then the rest is just kind of around.
There's been like bursts of high profile success with like the War for Cybertron games and
Devastation.
Kind of Devastation a little bit, and then the Armada game kind of became a cult classic. But
I heard the first live action
that one has definitely become a cult classic as well. The other games in that franchise not so much, but but the first one definitely. So yeah, it's interesting that it's not really like you think with like video games nowadays being these like big things that Transformers would want to get in on that, but they just kind of haven't, and they haven't really needed to either. So and
when they do, they cancel it apparently.
Yeah, for some reason.
Or region lock it.
We haven't seen like a big AAA style Transformers game hit the scene, so who knows what the future will bring though.
Yeah. Though I do like the idea of like those sort of indie style games.
Yeah,
also.
I really like the JRPG style thing. That feels like it would work really well.
Yeah, but not even just that, but just like more. You know how indie games just do any genre they want.
Yeah.
Just and do weird things.
There's more free form.
Yeah. But anyway, this time there's not going to be a question because I will say it again. We are taking our summer hiatus in June and July to work ahead and get ready to finish off season 2. We will return with full podcast episodes in August. Don't worry. We have a couple of short videos to fill in the blanks.
Yes, we're not disappearing off at the face of the earth.
Right. So to wrap up,
thank you all so much for joining us and listening to our ramblings and our inability to speak. Next time, we will be discussing The Search for Alpha Trion, and The Girl Who Loved Powerglide, and Hoist Goes Hollywood.
And if everything goes well when we return in August, we should have another guest on for the next episode.
Do you want to say this or do I?
Are you good? Are you gonna
Female podcasters, I thought they were extinct.
We're just referencing Shockwave.
I'm just referencing Shockwave. It's fine. Don't cancel us. Don't cancel us. Oh man. Okay.
At the time of this recording, these Transformers episodes are available on Hasbro Pulse YouTube and on DVD and several others. Tubi, Pluto. By the way, we're not sponsored, nor have been sponsored by these things. We just want you to watch these shows so you know what we're talking about.
Exactly. With that, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. See you after the hiatus.
Do.
Bye.